Welcome to the Barry Podcast, an unofficial show covering the official hit HBO series, Barry. I'm one of your hosts, Jamie G. Esquire, the fifth master of making somebody else do the math. And I'm here with Math Guy, my co-host, Magnum to talk about the 11th episode of Barry, Season 2, Episode 3, titled Past Equals Present times Future over Yesterday.
I think that's either some sort of mathematical proof or something you can get at Waffle House, but I'm only the math guy because the Detonate app comes with a calculator function. It's quite handy. I am Magnum Mills. Thank you for checking out the Barry Podcast. Find us wherever you get your pods. Find us on social media at Barry Podcast. And you can search for Barry Podcast on YouTube or go to joeblowfootballshow.com. Brings you right to our YouTube channel. If you could, please take like 7.5 seconds to comment, rate, like, follow, subscribe. Just do one. If you want to do them all, I won't complain. But doing that takes you about 5-10 seconds, helps other people find the show. That's all we ask. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
This math is simple. When we cover new episodes of Barry, we spoil everything from all the previous episodes. However, during our rewatch episodes, we will not be spoiling any future events or episodes of Barry. At the end of our episode discussion, we will, however, have a spoiler section, which we will most def contain spoilers. We'll give you a heads up when we get to that point, so you'll have plenty of time to hit the road if you want to. Magnum Mills, give us the episode deets.
This is Season 2, Episode 3, Past Equals Present times Future over Yesterday. Originally aired Sunday, April 14th, 2019, with an estimated 1.78 million viewers in the United States tuning in live. That's over 1.3 million more than the viewers in the previous episode, and that's because for the rest of Season 2, Barry has Game of Thrones as a lead-in. Directed by Minky Spiro. This is the first episode of Barry that she's directed. Written by Jason Kim. He's the credited writer here, and this was his first written by credit on Barry. The short plot synopsis is, as part of a class project, Gene tasks Barry with revisiting his past, and Sally reflects on her own history. Barry offers to provide training to NoHo Hank's men. Fuchs finds Barry in an unexpected location.
And before we get into our recap discussion of this episode, we're going to each give you our overall thoughts. Remember, no spoilers for anything past this episode. It's a very good episode of Barry. Is it one of my favorite episodes? Probably not. And looking back so far, I think this season probably starts a little bit slower than maybe I remembered. But there were some great moments here. You get a lot of Hank. I love that. So overall, good episode. Maybe not my favorite one ever, but I enjoyed it.
I think I'm pretty much living in that area myself. Again, I don't think they've ever made a bad episode of Barry. It just seems like they're kind of working really hard to get the story to go where it wants to be. And sometimes you can kind of see the plot machinations happening or whatever. But like you said, man, any episode that opens with a dream sequence of NoHo Hank talking shit to other smart people.
So, you know what, Thomas Friedman? You are bad at writing and nobody likes you.
Probably not, a top 5 episode of Barry for anything, like that. But again, they don't make bad episodes of Barry.
They really don't. All right, Mills. I think the math says that now equals the time to start breaking down the episode. Divided by pi, 9er times 12.
And did I catch a 9er in there? Were you calling from a walkie-talkie?
We open the episode with Hank on what appears to be some kind of roundtable discussion on a cable news show. He gets to own Thomas Friedman right before he wakes up. He passed out reading Friedman's The Lexus and the Olive Tree. Apparently, Hank wasn't a fan. He's told that Cristobal wants to see him, and he quickly discovers that Esther survived Barry's attack because she's standing right there. This is a total backfire because Cristobal is very concerned about the attack on Esther, and he's invited her and her men to stay in the stash house. To make room, Hank and his men will have to move into a storage container located outside. Hank sees no choice. They're going to have to kill Barry. Dude, storage container's pretty rough, man.
Yeah, I don't know that. I think you'd probably die in there in all reality. That didn't look, climate control, I'll tell you that. I thought that there was some good kind of facial acting out of NoHo Hank here. He kind of says a lot without saying a lot. You can kind of read his mind that he's just very disappointed. Kind of his perfect world was starting to crumble here. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Again, just the whole bit of him at the round table, I like getting inside of NoHo Hank's head. I think it's just a fantastic place to live. And he did really just kind of show up Thomas Friedman, which was nice. And then Cristobal is telling him what happened and he gives it away, but he's like,
at the monastery, I imagine? Wow.
What a dirtbag would attack you at a holy place and fail, thankfully. I mean, you look great.
I mean, just, him just trying to, cover his ass in not the most efficient way in the world. I mean, that's North Hollywood Henry, smarter person.
Smarter person.
Only thing I didn't really buy is that at this point, like Cristobal, he reads all these books. He never played chess before, really? I don't know about that one. And shout out Esther, who knew that Barry was rocking some Lululemon right away.
White boy in a Lululemon tracksuit.
Yeah, you gotta love Esther.
Yeah, she's on point. I'll give her that. At the theater, Barry is rehearsing for Gene. He's telling Gene about his first kill and how it was the best day of his life. We cut to Barry at his laptop, and he deletes what he just wrote. Sally is in his bedroom with him, and they're both trying to write their pieces for the class. Sally reads what she's written about the night she left her abusive husband, and it seems quite powerful. She tells Barry that she's supposed to Skype with her friend who helped her get away from him. Sally heads out into the living room for the Skype because the Wi-Fi is better out there. And Jamie G, that's how Wi-Fi works, right? It's like really good in like one room and it's not so great in the other. And I thought we were supposed to be past that.
It's spotty, and even though Barry takes place in it's not like this was in the 90s or even the early 2000s. I mean, this is, I think the show takes place, I don't know, maybe 2015 or something, like that era, right? So it's like, even then, Wi-Fi was spotty, even today in 2023, Wi-Fi is spotty.
No, Wi-Fi is all over the place. It's again, I love how people with the show have a bone to pick with like minor technology stuff. I'm right there with that. And what do you think, man? Barry what he wrote was honest, right? When he talked about the day of his first kill being the best day of his life, and we kind of saw it in the previous episode with everyone like chanting Barry Berkman. So that was like, he was like, oh no, that's too honest, right? That's what was going on there.
I think it was brilliant. I think it was so beautiful, and I really wanted him to continue with that. And I think he would have changed kind of, what he was worried about with people looking at him differently. I think had he gone through with that, people would have looked at him, differently, but not in a bad way, as a hero.
I don't think there were a lot of sheepfucker fans in the acting class, And
I don't think so.
One thing before you got to the living room, you do always have to remember that Nick's stressed. Like that's not a given.
Nick's the worst, isn't he?
He's kind of the worst. And Gene apparently was the worst father, and we see him go to see his son Leo at his business. Gene apologizes for the way that their previous conversation ended, and he offers him key to his cabin. Gene pitches them on using the cabin as a shared business opportunity, but Leo refuses and tells Gene to leave him alone. Is he kind of asking him to be a groundskeeper? I mean, it's on one hand, it's real estate. On the other hand, having to maintain, show it, and like do all the work for it, you should probably get more than half the dough then.
I think he just kind of stumbled over his words here. What he meant was business partner, and a way for us to collaborate on something. He just lost the words. And you know what, man? For a minute, I kind of felt bad for Gene here. He was reaching out, trying to kind of get things right here. And no parent ever wants to hear their child just hate them, right? And it just was a bad look, because I think he meant well, but to Leo, it kind of came. I mean, Leo said, "Dad, I don't want the cabin where your girlfriend was murdered. That's sick." It just felt bad for Gene here a little bit, didn't it?
100%. I think you're exactly right. And Hart was in the right place, but he did not think it through.
Dude, and shout out Gene. He pulled up in the Escalade, bro. I was like, yo, he still's got the whip. That dates back to episode 1.
The pilot, I wonder if it was just a lease or like it's actually someone's car and they weren't there or something, because it's used so infrequently. It's just a nice reminder. And that's other than maybe he's got like random stuff from all his old posters from back in the day. I'm not sure what he needs all that space for, but I don't know, maybe Gene's into some weird stuff. He might be, that's a story for another day. The story for now is talking about Sally doing her Skype with her friend Kate. After some small talk, Sally asks her about the night she left her ex, Sam. Kate doesn't remember it the same way as Sally. She says that Sam was passed out when they went to get her stuff. They left without talking to him, so in her recollection, the confrontation where Sally tells him off never happened. Sally kind of brushes it off, but you can tell that she's disappointed that her friend hasn't found the time to really check out any of her TV appearances or anything, especially because she seems to have found time to watch a ton of other stuff.
To be honest, I'm so busy with the kids, I don't really have time to watch much.
Oh, right.
Except for Grey's Anatomy, Kardashians, all the Desperate Housewives, This Is Us, So You Think You Can Dance, The Voice. I love the Switched at Birth. I like that one with the family with all the kids. That's a good one.
I mean, that's a lot of TV viewing right there. I mean, all like the Kardashians and Desperate Housewives. Aren't there like 10 of them? I don't even know.
There's like 30 of them. I mean, yeah,
Shows, not even people. Like there's like 30.
there's
Like, I don't,
shows. Oh, dude, 30 different cities, for Christ's sake. I mean, there's Atlanta, there's New York, there's New Jersey, there's LA. There's tons of them. That's 10 shows right there.
and you could definitely tell it hurts Sally a little because she's hoping back home everyone's all jealous and stuff. I'm sure. Did it kind of surprise you at all that Kate's version of events didn't match Sally's?
A little bit at first, but then you kind of started seeing through it, right? Like for a minute, I started buying, like, oh man, Sally kind of was in this abuse, and I still believe she was in an abusive relationship, but it was just interesting to see that, like, it's telling for Sally, right? Like she wanted so badly to have her moment where she told him off, and now it looks like maybe she didn't. Maybe she did never say that. She just kind of disappeared in the dead of the night when he was drunk and passed out.
And again, there's nothing, you got to get out, you got to do what you got to do, but it definitely seems like it's one of those things, right? The lies people tell themselves, and you tell it themselves over and over again, and it becomes true. Unless it's me trying to tell myself that I'm 6 foot, I water the money trees in the back. They're not growing. It is what it is. Barry doesn't have money trees. He's just stuck in his bedroom, still trying to work on his piece, work through his writer's block. So instead of talking about the first time he killed someone, he tries something different, and he imagines the first time he saved someone. He flashes back to his fellow soldier, Albert, getting shot in the face. Barry then snaps back to reality when someone starts shooting into his room with a silenced gun. Barry quickly retrieves one of his own guns and returns fire. We see that it's Hank and Akmal shooting at him, and Barry shot Akmal in the shoulder, and then he goes outside and easily gets the drop on them. Barry is furious with Hank, but instead of killing him, Barry offers to train Hank's men. That way, they won't need Barry anymore. Barry makes up the debt, even Steven. Hank loves this idea so much that he does a bit of a victory dance, which is, I mean, it's so awesome.
Really incredible. And dude, this was a cool work, bit of cinematography work here, man. Like you're deep in. I love these kind of flashbacks to the war, and the way the gunshots go in the war scene, and how it just immediately shot back in here. And shout out to Feather Pillows, because there was a lot of feathers from the hole in that pillow. So I thought this was a cool scene, just with the back and forth, with the flashback and then back into reality. Snap back into reality.
Yeah, I would say overall they did a real nice job shooting all of that, the Afghanistan stuff and everything like that. But I mean, this is one where they stretch the reality a little bit, because silenced guns, no matter what the movies tell you, are not that quiet. And when like the gun shoots in, that's probably going to crack that glass window. It'll probably shatter, especially after a couple of shots. So like somebody would have noticed, I think, if not in the neighborhood, in the house. I mean, on top of that, if nobody noticed anything else, I think somebody would have noticed Hank doing his happy dance for about 10 minutes up there or whatever. So someone would have probably at least called the cops, been like, yo, we got another meth head dancing up on the roof.
Another guy on the ground bleeding. Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean,
Cards on the table. This is probably my favorite scene. So I'm not going to do all of the lines here. I just want to point out that, Barry shoots Akmal in the exact same spot he shot Hank. And when Hank realized it, he's like,
Barry shot me like precisely in the same arm. Oh, same spot. Wow, he's so good.
and then there's a part, Hank, you give me army, you turn these pumpkins into Cinderellas overnight. Like it's just so, and
bunch of good ones in here, man.
Just absolutely outstanding here. In like when Hank says vomited, I don't know why, but the word vomit to me is always funny. Like puke, retch, throw up, not that funny. Vomit, hysterical, right? Am I wrong?
I think it's just a funny word. He says.
I mean, the delivery does have something to do with it. I mean, that's why, I'm going to name my next illegitimate kid Body. You mean Barry? No, Body. Like, you got to make sure, like.
Body.
Yeah, you basically spell it like body with a silent R or something. We'll figure that one out. After that, Barry somehow sneaks back into his room. No one is the wiser about the recent gun battle. Sally comes back in after a Skype and tells Barry about what happened with Kate. She says that it really helped her to talk to somebody who was there with her. She suggests that Barry could maybe find somebody he can talk to about his experiences like that in order to overcome his writer's block. Top-notch physical comedy by Hader here. Sally's coming in, he sees all the feathers and everything, and he just like tries to like do that thing where you lay on the bed and you just strike the pose and act all cool, and he sees the pillow that got shot and he just like real quick throws it away and more feathers go flying in the air because he throws it. And then at one point Sally's even playing with a
Ellie
feather
picks one
and
up and
just she's
dude.
so into her own shit. Like she does actually try to help Barry here, I'll give her that, but she is definitely like so far in her own shit it never even occurs to her, why are
why
there
there's
feathers?
yeah, dude, I love when he's trying so hardly, they're floating in the air, and when you see her pick that one up and start, that's, oh dude, so good here, so good. And then she lays down on his, she's like, oh, you're really tight and stressed.
It's hard
You're
to go
really
to mile a minute
tense.
because he's been running up and down on roofs and shooting people and shit.
Yeah, I'd say he's pretty tense after that. Absolutely hilarious, dude.
Yeah, he's ready to go camping, dude. He is intense. And Fuchs is actually kind of getting an intense beating verbally from Loesch because they're trying to rehearse how Fuchs is going to get Barry to confess, and Loesch is not impressed with Fuchs's efforts. But Fuchs assures him that he can get Barry to admit to killing Janice. Then it's off to the desert where Barry has begun to train Hank's men. He hasn't practiced shooting, and only one of them seems to be any good. Barry gets a text from Sasha asking him to cover her shift at Lululemon, and he agrees to help her out, even after it turns out she was just ditching her shift to hang out with Natalie. Dude, how great is it that Loach is using the failed quinceanera store as like the Loach cave, I like to call it. He's got his little Loach computer and his little locked drawer, and everything's 50% off.
I love this quinceanera store. It's so Loach, right? And he's like hot on the trail. He's got nothing left, but he's going all in on this thing. And dude, honestly, I forgot about Fuchs Loach this much, and it's really good. I'm so glad the show paired them up because this is funny, man. The two of them together is a good watch.
Oh, absolutely. There's like even just when Fuchs kind of brags that he built Barry's mind and everything, and he says,
"Give me 5 minutes with him. Have him shitting in my hand." What?
I mean, that's right up there with like you eat pieces of shit for breakfast, I feel. And there's also some good stuff, obviously by Hank when he introduces, Barry to all of the assassins. The thing with the translator is just hysterical that they all speak English anyways. And they're like, what the fuck, dude? Why are you even here? That is just excellent. And, Barry's kind of humble that he's not the best assassin in America. But I like Hank when he's like,
he's being modest. He is Air Jordan of assassins.
Nice little callback to Space Jam that we know that Hank has watched before. So I think that's pretty cool. And, one of the maybe earliest references of him calling Barry his best friend. And I don't know, Jamie G, do you think these guys are really like a SEAL Team 7.5 or not?
Something tells me they're not quite there yet. They might be SEAL Team 0.5, but I think they've got some work to do.
I mean, for real, though, how long until they become an actual army? Like 2-3 hours?
Yeah. They should have that done and no problem.
Have you ever said, I mean, keep it, no, it doesn't have to be safe for work, but have you ever sent like a wrong follow-up text to someone like that when she texts, right back to Barry, Jarhead's going to cover for me. Sasha's day off, bitch. Shit, that was meant for Natalie.
Yes, I definitely have, and it sucks is when you do it because it's like you can't recall it. So, yeah, once you send it,
careful with stuff like that.
Yeah, you got to be very careful, dude. And how great is it that like all these guys, we've got a translating situation, and then all these guys literally, he's like, "How many of you speak English?" And they all raise their hand. But Hank had the translator out there, anyways. It just, oh man, great stuff.
Well, if you're watching on YouTube, behind Jamie G, you can see what Hank is wearing here in this scene. And if you're not watching, it's basically like a beret with a black t-shirt, short sleeve t-shirt, and a camouflage kind of vest, but more of like a Marty McFly camouflage vest, not something that has any tactical value. What do you think he based that outfit on? Did that come off the rack at Lululemon, or what's going on here? Like, I don't know where he got that, but it's very specific.
Very specific. I think he's just trying to he's really going in here, man. He's really
the shirt and the beret is like Stallone in Demolition Man, but he never wore the vest. But if he just had the tight black t-shirt and the black beret, that's what I would go with. I mean, Hank's pretty cool. He probably likes Demolition Man. Like, who doesn't?
I would bet.
And I really don't have feelings about Lululemon, except it's probably overly priced, and I can't tell the difference between the men's and the women's clothes. But Barry did go there to work Sasha's shift, and Fuchs shows up to talk. Surprisingly, Barry's ready to talk with him, and he explains the whole situation about his writer's block to Fuchs. When Barry tells him that he wants to tell the story about Albert, Fuchs is dead set against it. He reminds Barry that that story gets fucked up fast. He warns Barry that if he tells the story, the other students will never look at him the same way. Barry breaks down a bit, telling Fuchs that he has no one to talk to and that he misses him. Fuchs says that he misses Barry too, and they share a legitimately nice hug, it appears. And I have one question, Jamie G. Would you ever bail on a shift where no one comes in? Like, that looked to be the easiest shift in the history of work. Not a single customer comes in. Like, that was probably a win on Barry's part right there.
That was working smart, not hard. Dude, I gotta say, man, it was nice to see kind of Fuchs. It was almost like, wow, wait, Barry, you want me? That was kind of cool, man, because it's like, okay, now he's back, right? Like, right, and that gives you a little bit of insight to Fuchs. Like, cross him and you're dead to him, but there is something here with Barry, like where he wants to, have that relationship. At least it feels that way in this scene.
At the end of the scene, we see Loach with his head down and maybe moving a little, but not moving a ton. Was he asleep or just so like mad at Fuchs that he was just like head down, like, pounding the desk a little and we couldn't see it or something? I honestly couldn't tell.
My money's on extremely frustrated with Fuchs. He was already kind of starting to stress him a little bit with, with like, dude, you're not getting the job done if Fuchs is on that. I built his mind shit, but it's all part of Fuchs's plan, man. You got to let Fuchs work his magic, I guess, Loach.
I mean, last time he listened to somebody like that, he wound up buying a quinceanera store in a non-Hispanic neighborhood. But, Loach is, I guess, just he's overly trusting, if anything else. So, maybe that tracks here. That's why he's so disappointed in Fuchs. Back in his bedroom, Barry tries to write his piece again. He again imagines Albert getting shot, but this time, Barry gives an epic Braveheart type speech, which is interrupted by Jean, who comes into the military flashback here. That was kind of surprising, but Jean instantly recognizes it being from Braveheart. And then all the rest of the people in the scene also were like, yeah, dude, that's Braveheart. We cut to the acting class where apparently Barry has pitched this on stage. Jean doesn't think that's going to happen, so he comes up with a solution. Instead of Barry doing his own scene, he's going to play Sally's abusive ex-husband in her scene. I remember the first time I saw that, I was just like, whoa, dude.
I love that, kind of the like you said, where you see Gene, and the whole time he's giving the speech, I'm like, is this Braveheart? And it wasn't until the end where I actually realized it was Braveheart. He did a Braveheart thing.
Legitimately, he didn't even bother to crib from Braveheart. He just copied and pasted from Braveheart. And I think it was Eric there who was playing the donkey. So he's got like the wagon rope to him to be like the donkey that's down with the wagon in the scene. And this is another case of Barry not being able to come up with his own ideas. Like, remember when everyone had to go to their room or whatever, their space, and Barry kept stealing because he couldn't come up with anything. Fuchs says Braveheart, so all Barry can do is just steal Braveheart directly. He can't even like come up with his own spin on Braveheart. He just cribs it directly. And you hear Gene tell Barry that he needs to funnel his darkness, and that kind of sets up what happens in the next scene. And in the next scene, it's time for Barry and Sally to rehearse their scene. Barry double checks that Sally is okay with him doing this, and she says it's fine. He's nothing like her ex. Still, Barry struggles to say the dialogue, and when it comes time to choke Sally, he can't do it. Sally pushes him as hard as she can, both literally and as an actor. Barry can't do it, and he rushes outside. Sally follows him, and Barry tells her that he doesn't want to hurt anybody. Sally answers him that it's fine. He won't hurt anyone. He's just acting. And she keeps talking and then kind of trails off and gets oddly quiet. Barry and the camera turn, and we see Sally's abusive ex, Sam, standing there. Barry stares at him. The camera zooms in. His eyes are filled with rage, and the episode cuts to black right as we see a little bit of a twitch at the corner of Barry's mouth.
Dude, isn't it fascinating that Barry's best acting comes when he's not acting but trying to in acting class? It's like it's incredible, right? Like, that's when you're like, wow, Barry, like, but it's so funny because that's not actually Barry acting. That's him just trying to handle his own emotions. But it's like, damn, dude, if he could just find a way, all these episodes in, we still haven't gotten a ton of Barry actually acting, but we get scenes like this where it's like, damn, dude, he was really uncomfortable and struggling to do that part. Really uncomfortable and struggling.
Yeah, and you could get it both from, again, I think for him, if I had to guess, it was mostly like he's worried about how everyone else views him. He's worried that even though these are acting class students, they won't be able to separate the idea of him acting doing this, because maybe he's worried, their thoughts about him as a soldier or whatever already. So this will put it over the edge or something. And I mean, I don't think Barry's ever practiced choked somebody before. I would worry about practice choking somebody. Again, like I would rather just like go like that. Like, why do you actually, I mean, I get these people want to do a little bit of the method style, but I think that's, something you should probably be a little careful with. And just like Sally really went at Barry, and you could get the idea that he was just, really worried. Like he did not want to go to that place, which would have, again, given that kind of performance or whatever. But I don't know, man. I was just kind of watching it. They did a real good job of building the tension here. I think like Barry was definitely in powder keg mode, and you were just kind of waiting for the explosion. And I thought that was a great way to end the episode on kind of just a little twitch, just like
Oh,
where
dude,
you're
in
like,
those eyes,
that's one of
right?
the best cliffhangers they've done. I think where you're like, as far as a non-season finale or something like that, where you're like, okay, next episode, please.
Yeah. Yeah. And his glare, dude, was like, whoa. Those are eyes that are going to kill you. Like it was pretty intense. I will say clearly Barry has never had a girlfriend that is, asked to be choked.
I'd still recommend you be careful there.
Yes, you should. You gotta have a safe word and all
There should
that.
be a safe word and a tap signal.
Yeah, I hear. But yeah, that was all jokes aside, really cool scene here, really intense scene.
Yeah, I mean, you never want to say they were asking for it, but there's a certain point when Sally says,
You look like a whore.
Can you try it again and just like really nail me with the word whore? Really just come at me,
Great line.
that's what she said, literally.
But I don't think that's
That
what
is.
she meant.
Well,
Yeah.
there she is. That is the end of our recap. And before we go handing out our awards, we got to see what other people thought about this episode. You know how we do on IMDb. This episode, past equals present times future over yesterday, has a rating of 8.4. That puts it in a four-way tie as the 13th highest ranked episode of Barry out of 24 total episodes to date. What do you think here, Mills? You agree with this? The math says that this is basically an average episode of Barry. Do you trust the numbers here?
I think I do. 24 episodes is not the greatest sample size, but this feels about right. Again, I don't think there were any bad episodes of Barry, but other than a couple of moments, I don't know that this is one, again, where you would like tell someone like, oh man, you have to watch it, but they do get you with the ending. So I think I even give the episode maybe a little bit of a bump up for that, for being one of the episodes with the best ending of a Barry episode to date. So yeah, I think that's about right. 13th out of 24 feels like somewhere between probably 10 and 15 should probably float your boat, something like that. How about yourself?
Yeah, I think it's there. I mean, again, we haven't kind of reached the point we reached with the back half of season one yet, but you can tell that there's enough building here now to where it looks like we're going to get there, and we might get there pretty fast.
Yeah, it could be a fireworks factory situation. That's how it works sometimes. So again, no bad episodes of Barry. And we know that while every episode of Barry is pretty great, maybe not every title of every episode of Barry is great. I mean, Bill Hader's even said that, yeah, they don't really spend a ton of time working on episode titles. And I have to say that past equals present times future over yesterday, that is not an average episode. That is maybe my least favorite title of a Barry episode. So Jamie G, got a better alternate for me?
I actually kind of like, and I could see them using, I built his mind. Just that, just the vagueness of that. I could see that actually being something kind of cool that they could use.
Yeah, because it could be Fuke saying it, or it could be Gene saying it. I like that. I mean, I hate going with the first thing you see in the episode, but North Hollywood Henry would just always sound good. The fun one would be King of Suckballs Mountain. Barry Block versus Writer's Block would kind of be maybe the clever one.
I like that.
50-50 with Cristobal, just because Hank's so excited. 50-50 with Cristobal. Maybe, the donkey dispute.
Let's be honest, all those were better than what they gave us.
They could have said, yeah, Barry season 2, episode 3. I would have been like, all right. Or just chapter 11. No even subtitle, just chapter 11. All right.
That would have been better.
Maybe it's a bankruptcy joke.
Well, With that said, it is now time to hand out our awards for this episode. We'll start by each giving our favorite quote or dialogue exchange from the episode. Mills, in an episode where there was a bunch of good stuff, I got to go back to that scene with Hank, Akmal, and Barry on the roof. And,
You got good guys right here, man.
Oh my God, my guys suck balls. You know it. Especially this motherfucker right here.
If I suck balls, you are king of suck balls mountain.
it's not every day you laugh out loud. That literally had me laughing out loud. King of Suckball Mountain. I've never used that all my years growing up, kind of bickering back and forth with the buddies, competing at sports. I've said a lot of stuff. I've never said you are king of Suckballs Mountain. Like that's awesome.
I like it so much. I would wear a t-shirt that says it, even if people can't tell if I have the suck balls or I'm doing the suck balls or whatever. It's so much fun. I don't really care. And you know what? Let's just double up. I'm going to go with Hank as well. And again, I hate to do it, but right from the first scene of the episode where Hank's at the round table and he says,
well, respectfully, I'm not sure that you're going to single-handedly stop the rise of Asia as a global market force.
Well, respectfully, why don't you shut the fuck up? Because Asia will be done the second I put a bullet in her massive, massive head. So, you know what, Thomas Friedman? You are bad at writing, and nobody likes you.
I've never met Thomas Friedman, but I would have to assume he's not that bad of a guy, but I do trust North Hollywood Henry's judge of character. Up next is our favorite moment or scene from Past Equals Future Times Present Over Yesterday, and I can't wait to not have to say that anymore. It is my turn to go first, and I'm basically just going to bring it right back around to where your favorite quote was, because my favorite scene has to be Barry getting the drop on Hank and Akmal on the roof. You get all that great dialogue, and then you get Hank's happy dance. That's going to be yours too. I mean, how do you beat that? Beat that.
I can't go with anything else. I'm sorry, but I'm doubling down.
We hate to do that, but sometimes, you can't.
Sometimes we have to.
Obvious greatness is obvious greatness.
That brings us to our Greek Freak of Assassins. This is our MVP of the episode. I guess it's my turn to go first here. I struggled with this back and forth, but I'm actually going to give it to Fuchs. And the reason why is, even though it broke his heart to kind of do that at the end, Fuchs wins here, right? He gets out of the grip of Loach. He kind of rekindled with Barry. He might be able to kind of talk himself out of this. He's in a better spot than he was. I'm giving it to Fuchsy.
I mean, we keep bringing him up. All of our favorite dialogue was from him. He's going to get an army of his own. How do you not go with NoHo Hank? I mean, this is definitely, I feel for me, this was an easy one. It usually isn't here to give out the, the Greek Freak here, but yeah, dude. And you could even call it the Air Jordan of Assassins if you want. Same difference. Hank apparently really likes his, basketball players and his assassins. And we both like assassins and NBA, but, we're not Rotten Tomatoes. We're not Roddy T's. No matter how hard we try, we're still going to do our best to give a grade to the last time I have to say this. Hopefully, past equals present times future over yesterday.
Because I'm the Fonz, huh? Hey!
In honor of Henry Winkler, Gene Cousineau himself, we grade each episode of Barry on a scale of 1 to 10 Fonzies. Hey, I'm up first here, and I'm going to hit the jukebox 8.3 times. 8.3, 8.3 Fonzies. Jamie G?
Yeah, I'm right there with it. I think that ending kind of edged me just a little bit.
It was about an 8 for me, and I bumped it up a little bit, like about the 0.3 there for the ending.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it a solid 8.5. Hey,
fair enough, and it's harder to be cooler than the Fonz, but Gene tries.
Damn near impossible.
Yeah, Fonz wore the same thing every time, basically. At least Gene switches up the wardrobe a little bit. That brings us to the spoiler section. So if you do not want to be spoiled on anything from any future episodes of Barry, any news about Barry, podcasts, articles, the like, please just go ahead, check out now. Thanks again for tuning in. Please remember, do the like, subscribe, follow thing, and check back soon for our episode covering what? The 4th episode of season 2. For everybody else, this is our spoiler discussion for it. This has to be the last time I have to say this. Past equals present times future over yesterday. Right off the top here, man. I mean, this is definitely like when Kate kind of tells her whatever about the stuff. I feel like that's a lot of where she pulls the stuff for Joplin from, like a combination of kind of the truth that Kate tells her, and then kind of Sally's little bit of embellishment or what have you.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you can kind of tell that this, yes, she wanted it to be one thing, it wasn't. I also wanted to point out that I thought it was interesting here that we kind of see Hank reference again. I forgot his Air Jordan of Assassin reference, and obviously, in season 3, we know he calls Barry the Greek freak of assassins. Shout out to Giannis. Maybe Hank has a thing for friggin' the NBA. I mean,
Let's talk about the real important thing. Everything else, hold the phone. Hank a Lakers fan or Clippers fan? Or tell me he's a Warriors fan who lives in LA. What? Never mind. He's a Sacramento Kings fan. He's definitely
he's sacked down, dude. He likes the Kings.
He's got a Vlade Divac jersey. He has a Vlade Divac jersey. Maybe he's got a Lakers Divac jersey and a Kings Divac jersey.
Who's my guy that played on the Kings, man?
Peja Stojakovic?
No.
Chris Webber.
Chris
Mike
Webber.
Bibby.
Yep, Chris Webber.
Don't fuck with my basketball, son.
Chris Webber, also shout out, dude. Underrated hip hop artist. Put out a pretty.
He was one of the better athlete rappers. I'll definitely
one of the better athlete rappers.
I'll give you that. And we definitely know, right? Like after we don't get the end of the story here where Albert gets shot, but then Barry just goes in that fucking joint and just shoots like the innocent dude. So that's you can't see that's if you kept listening to the spoiler section and you want to, that's what happens. But you'll find out soon enough. They reveal that in the next episode, but it definitely is darker than you would think, right?
Especially because they toyed with it 2 different ways and neither one made it seem like it was going to be that. Like that's some heavy shit to deal with, dude. Like no wonder why Barry kind of has like severe clinical depression, right? I think undiagnosed. Like how could you not, dude? Like that would mess with anybody, man. Like that's a tough truth.
Yeah, I mean, same thing here when, Jean has Barry play Sally's abusive ex, and then in season 3, she gets worried about Barry also being violent or whatever. So this is kind of the genesis, I think, of that, whatever, at least as an idea from an audience standpoint. And, dude, Fuchs, he really liked the quinceanera thing when he's like talking to Loach about it, and he's all excited about these young women and all this everything. Is that, I mean, it's weird, but is that kind of why in season 3 we keep seeing like, well, at least 2 different, like very much younger, very attractive women just keep falling head over heels with like minimal, like, does he just have this weird, I don't know, quinceanera energy or something? That big QE, I don't know what you call it. Not the BQE, but the big QE.
I think he does, bro. I think he does. That's a wrap on past equals present times future over yesterday. And hopefully that's the last time I have to say that. Mills, anything else before we get out of here?
Next up is season 2, episode 4. What? Not to be confused with Little John or Redman's debut. What? The album.
Thank you for traversing the muddy waters of the Barry podcast. Seriously, we appreciate you guys. Hope you enjoyed our show, and we hope that we're adding something to your Barry experience. Whether you're rewatching this like us or you're checking it out for the first time, please remember, like, subscribe, comment. We got you. We'll be here for all your Barry pleasure. It's very, very pleasurable. Mills, anything that I forget?
No, just remind the people, Barry Podcast, wherever you get your pods, on social media at Barry Podcast. Find our YouTube channel at JoeBlowFootballShow.com or just search for the Barry Podcast. Thanks again for checking us out. On behalf of myself, Magnum Mills, and Jamie G, the co-presidents of the Mitch Fan Club, remember, dox the name 2000.
And even though Dare is a dark side, it would be malpractice to not check out our next episode.
We've named every pre-2005 Redman album, so let's go ahead, go out by bringing it in. 1, 2, 3. Cusino!